Hey, sports fans! PB&Z Sports Chaos. And we're a couple days away from our draft preview show. We will do our own mock drafts. Can't wait for that one. All right, PB, a lot of stuff is happening in sports right now. I cannot believe how active it is on the other major league sports. Let's start with the NHL. By the way, I hear you were at the NHL game last night, a couple nights ago, right?
Yeah, Tuesday night. I took in the Panthers game against the Blue Jackets. They smoked them 5-1. But the big thing about this game was it was Spencer Knight's NHL debut. So for those of you who follow college and follow BC, he was the goaltender. He was obviously in the men's tournament. So happens he has a great night. I think he had 34 shots that night, saved 33, only let up one goal. So he played a great NHL debut, albeit against the Blue Jackets, but crushed him 5-1. Panthers looking good.
Doesn't matter. He's in the NHL. He's a major leaguer, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Hey, by the way, PB, we talked about this a week ago. The Bruins made a couple of trades, 3 trades. They were 2-0 last week we talked. All of a sudden, they're now like 5-0, and they look awesome right now at this point in time. And I know they beat Buffalo the last 2 games. Buffalo sucks. But yeah, I'm a little bit excited right now because I think they've refound their game that they had at the beginning of the year. Tell me if I'm correct.
No, yeah, you're right. They made some good moves. A lot of the top-heavy teams made good moves, and they're all playing good right now. So they're kind of in the same boat with a lot of other teams. But albeit, hey, they're still sitting, got that 4th spot easily locked in and wrapped up to make the playoffs. They probably can creep up because they have left games played. It's not going to matter. It's going to be Pittsburgh. It's going to be Washington. It's going to be Boston, and it's going to be the Islanders, and they're going to be fighting for that. Come out of that division. They've played well, like you said. Half of their last. I know they won 6 in a row. I think it is, but half of those games were against Buffalo, who was the worst team in the NHL. So let's be fair. We're there if we can, but they did have some quality wins against the Islanders and against the Capitals. And like I said, the thing about the NHL, as long as you get to the dance, it doesn't matter. They'll hit the reset button. If Rask is hot and this team's playing the way they are right now, they could easily be the team that comes out of that division.
PB, I got one question before we move on. Is Brad Marchand underrated because he's a little bit of a punk? I mean, he's a very skillful player, but he's a very big irritant, right?
Yeah, he is. Obviously, you hate him unless he's on your team. He's that kind of player.
But he's like top 5 in points this year.
Yeah, he gets the job done. He's a good player. He's on a good line, and let
me ask you a question. Is he the Bruins' Julian Edelman?
I don't know. I think it depends on how long he plays his career. If Brad Marchand plays a full career in the NHL, I would say he has a better chance of making the Hall of Fame than Edelman will.
But I think he's the guy that stirs the pot, just like Jules, don't you?
Yeah, in that way, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let me move on to NBA action. The Celtics are now like.
What about the rest of the NHL? I want to talk about the rest of the NHL.
All right, go ahead. What do you got?
I got to make a couple of points about the NHL before we move on. Love the way Carolina is playing right now. Carolina is.
Do you really?
They're playing really good hockey, and their goaltending is unbelievable. I think they've allowed one of the fewest goals in the NHL. But I tell you what, this team, they got about 50-50 with their goaltending in terms of who's playing what night. I don't know if they can trust the younger goalie come playoff time. So I don't see them going far in the playoffs.
That's why I didn't want to talk about them. They're one and done. I think they get swept.
And I agree. And Dallas, we had Dallas making that, coming out of that group. They haven't been in the top 4 all year. Granted, they had a lot of postponed games. There were a lot of games behind. They're starting to play good now. So watch out for Dallas down the stretch, because even if they get in as a lower seed, they could very easily upset Carolina in that first round, while you have Tampa Bay and Florida beating each other up in the other thing. So Dallas could come out of that still. I wouldn't be surprised. I still like Tampa, though, in that division.
Oh, you've been talking about them all year, yeah.
Yeah, and then of course you have Colorado and Vegas in the same division, and they're probably the 2 best teams in the NHL. So unfortunately, only one of those teams can come out, and we'll see. But yeah, what happens?
I got one question for you.
soon.
Does anybody from the North, I like the Canada division, make it to the final?
Well, a team has to come out, but no, I don't think so. I think Winnipeg is my favorite to come out of that. I know Toronto's in first, but I like Winnipeg to win that. But Winnipeg's going to have to then go up against the likes of, Tampa or Colorado or Vegas, and they won't make it this time.
So for the minute, Don Sweeney won the trade deadline at the moment, right?
I mean, he's looking pretty good.
He is. You're right. All right, let's go to another team. The NBA Celtics. I don't know if they won anything at the trade deadline, but all of a sudden they've been very, very hot. Last night they beat the Phoenix Suns, who are number 2 in the West. They get the Brooklyn Nets tonight. PB, we've talked about this all year. The Celtics have been underperforming here in the NBA for us Bostonians. Yep. Are we seeing the real Celtics right now, or is this a mirage?
Yeah, I mean, they're 8-2 in their last 10. Same, just like the Bruins, right? They're getting hot at the right time. Here's the thing, though, with the East, they got to get into that 4 or 5 spot. If you're a 6 or lower, you got to face the big 3. You're going to have to play Milwaukee or Brooklyn or Philly in the first round, then another one of those 3 teams in the second round, and then another one of those 3 teams in the finals. There's no way in hell they're going to win 3 series against those 3 teams. Now, if you get the 4 or 5 seed, you get to play 4 plays 5. So obviously, a couple of those teams could potentially be knocked off by the time you get to it. So there's an outside chance if they get a 4, they can maybe make it to the finals again. I'm
going to ask you a question. I'm going to play devil's advocate to that. I'm going to play devil's advocate. 5, 6, 7, 8, when there's really no home crowd to speak of, maybe 2,200 fans, does it really friggin' matter? At the end of the day,
home court,
if you're hot, let me ask you a question. If you're hot, if you're on a roll, maybe you're 17, but you all of a sudden won 8 out of 9 going into the playoffs, and everybody's healthy, does it matter?
Home court doesn't matter, but I still think that getting to play in the first round, the 4 seed as the 5 or the 5 seed as the 4, is a big difference than playing the 3 as a 6 or playing the 2 as a 7.
So to your point, if you have to play a cupcake in the first round versus a tough opponent, it helps you out.
It helps. Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
I mean, you think if the Celtics end up as the 6 and they have to play Milwaukee in the first round, you think they're going to beat them in a 7-game series?
You know what? I have no idea because I don't know what Celtics team's going to show up.
Yeah.
You know what? If Tatum doesn't hold the ball all day long, they have a shot. But if Tatum holds the ball all day long, they lose. I don't know. This is the most confusing team ever because Brad Stevens, and we've talked about this forever, has no control. There's never been a team in the NBA history that's never had a non-coach in the playoffs. Brad Stevens is a non-coach. No one listens to him. At the end of the day, non-coach. You and I can be there. It don't matter. They don't listen to us. They won't listen to Brad.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Oh, man, I have no idea. I will say this. The Celtics have looked better. I'm not going to get sold on them. But one team I will not be sold on, the Philadelphia 76ers, because Joel Embiid, he says he's the MVP of the league. I think he's the MVP. This is what my MVP is of him. Most visceral punk in the NBA. You're not a valuable player. You're a punk. Joel Embiid, you're a detriment to your team. Case dismissed.
Yeah, he's not. I mean, I know he's like right up there in terms of favorites to win the MVP, but you know what? It's Nikola Jokic's MVP to lose at this point. I mean, Jokic has way more points than Embiid, way more assists than Embiid, and he, oh, by the way, gets 11 boards a game too. So we're talking about a guy who almost averages a triple-double.
Yes, yeah.
And I know he has less points per game than Embiid, but he has about 300 more points scored than Embiid. Why? Because Embiid doesn't freaking play.
That's
Embiid's
right. You
Embiid's
can't count on him. Yes.
You can't count. He's played in under 70% of the team's games. That's 2 out of every 3 games he plays. He doesn't play 1 in every 3 games. You know how many games every single game that Denver has played. That's why he has so many more points. And you know what? There's points per game. I don't give a crap what the points per game is. That's like selecting the MVP for yards per carry. Some guy gets the ball 60 times and averages 9 yards a carry. You're going to give him the friggin' MVP? No.
I like it. Yes.
It matters how many yards you get. Did you get 1,000 yards, 1,500 yards rushing? I don't care how many points per game he has. How many points does he have? You don't see that stat anywhere in the NBA. Why don't you see it? You go online, look it up. There's no stats on points. It's all points per game. I don't give a crap about points.
I like it. Joel Embiid, out of here.
Out.
All right, let's move on to MLB. Right now, there's a lot of surprises in MLB. Who knew the Yankees would be in last place in the American League, never mind the East, in the American League at this point in time, right? I know it's early. I know it's very, very early.
Yeah.
But I'm very shocked by the performance of the Red Sox and obviously the Mariners, right?
Yeah, well, the Mariners and the A's are now both 12-7. They're a half game better than the Red Sox at 12-8. But the A's started 1-7, and they've won 11 games in a row since starting 1-7. Yes. So now they're sitting at 12-7. They have best record in the American League, tied with Seattle. None of the teams we really predicted to do well are doing well. I mean,
none of them.
Tampa's one game over 500. The Blue Jays are 500 or below. The White Sox are hanging in, but they're only a game or so over 500. The Twins, they're in last place, who I have. The Angels aren't doing so hot. Other teams that were Houston's in last place. I mean, all the teams we picked aren't doing anything. So, but you know what? Baseball season's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So
it's very early. But PB, let me ask you one question. If there is one team right now with this fast start that might sustain, who would you pick?
In the American League?
Yeah.
Man, that's tough. I just don't think the Red Sox can sustain their pitching. I don't think it's sustainable at this point. So I can't say the Red Sox, even though they're off to a hot start. Who else is there to pick from? I mean, Oakland always has like young talent that comes out of nowhere and ends up doing well. So, I mean, I might put Oakland in that category.
I'm with you. I'm with you with Oakland. I will say this. I'm with you. I agree with you about the Sox pitching, but they really have 4 legitimate star hitters on that lineup, right? JD Martinez bounced back, and he's being huge right now. Rafael Devers is huge right now. Xavier Bogaerts is huge right now. Christian Vasquez, the catcher, for a catcher, is awesome at this point in time. And by the way, Hunter Renfroe, who knew he was going to be like a very good player for them? So I don't know. Well, if their stars can carry them, it's not the NBA. Obviously, you can't win with 3 players like you can in the NBA. But if
right.
We're out of their mind. I don't know if they get some pitching. Who knows? And Chris Steele comes back at some point in time. If he can come back in August and win like 7 or 8 in a row,
yeah. And they are the number 2 team in all of baseball right now in run differential. The only team is the Los Angeles Dodgers. So
I did not see this. I mean, we talked about this in our pre-MLB show. I thought for sure this is going to be the worst Boston team in the history of the game. And yet, here they are. After they came back from 0-3, I don't know what to make. I mean, the A's came back from 0-6, and what are they now, 11 straight, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right.
Well, I'll tell you the other thing. The other thing over in the National League, one of the teams that had started off really, really hot, they've lost 4 in a row recently, is the Cincinnati Reds. I predicted that team to win that Central Division. They started hot. They've lost 4 in a row, albeit they've lost 2 of those 4 losses were without Nick Castellanos, so whatever his last name is. He's been out on a suspension.
By the way, horrible suspension. He got thrown at, first of all, and yet he stood up for himself without fighting, and he gets thrown out. I don't get it. First, bad suspension. MLB sucks.
But I'll tell you, Tyler Mahle, who I predicted to be a hell of a starter this year and break out for Cincinnati, he's thrown some really good games so far. They're going to be there in the end, I think. By the way, number 1 team in the entire majors by far in runs scored, more than Los Angeles, more than any other team in the majors.
Really? All right.
They're the most runs scored. So look for them to be there one way or another. And their pitching staff is not a joke. So they'll figure it out. They'll be there trying That's a team you can count on.
By the way, we got a big series this weekend. We got the Dodgers and Padres are playing this weekend, right? They played last night. I believe the Dodgers won, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Dodgers. I mean, they're unreal. I mean, we both predicted them to be right there in the World Series at the end, and I can't picture anybody beating them.
But the Padres, we think, will be right behind them, right?
Yeah, we both had them as a wild card, but they're not going to beat them in crunch time.
No. All right, PB, we're going to do our NFL draft show Tuesday night. Well, fans, we're going to put that out there, right? We got a good one for you. Hey, by the way, PB, NFL made some rules change. Brady is not happy about this one rules change, which is anybody can wear like a 1 to 20 number, whatever position you play. Brady's like crying because you don't know who's going to block. I've been watching college football for like 100 years. I've been seeing defensive linemen and linebackers wearing 1, 2, 3, 12, 11. What is Brady crying about? I don't get it.
Yeah, something.
Is he getting a little senile because he's getting old?
I don't know. He needs to just pipe down. It's not going to be a big deal.
Hey, by the way, Alex Smith retired this past week, right? Thoughts on him?
Yeah, I mean, he sustained a major injury. The fact that he even came back and played football was amazing. So good for him. He should retire. The
only thing I'll never forget about him, though, is 2000, I think it was 5 when he was drafted. Him and Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers was the guy who was supposed to be number 1. He was stuck in the green room to number 24. I don't think Aaron Rodgers ever forgets that, much like Brady doesn't forget being 199, right?
Right, exactly.
All right.
Well, hey, we got our draft coming up Tuesday. It's going to be one of our best shows of the year, so you got to tune in for the draft special.
And, yeah, we're going to talk about our Rodgers and Brady pick maybe. We'll see. All right. PB, nice show. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, sounds good, my man.